Happy July, everybody. I'm just going to do a quick little update about July's energy. And then I also really wanted to share an upcoming event that I'm going to be co-hosting here in Crestone, Colorado. So wanted to invite anybody that's in the area, or for any of you that want to travel here for this event. Wanted to give you time to make arrangements and ask any questions that you'd like to. So first off, it's July 3rd today. So we're moving into July 4th weekend. This is a very big month, as I did my first contact summer series already. So I talked about July being the month of the first contact, right? Making this contact with your future self, making contact quite literally with the future field, if you will, and receiving the downloads, the visions, the feeling, the information for not only our future self, like who we're becoming, what we're embodying, what we really want to be and kind of create moving forward, but also this sense of like how we're going to do this collectively. And again, everybody's got a piece of that puzzle. So you're going to be getting those intuitive hits, those opportunities, those connections, those feelings, those ideas, those visions, and we have to start moving into them. And again, this brings up a lot because as the old self who has created this life and this journey so far, it's not that any self is dying, but there are pieces of our old self that can't come to the future, right? There are pieces of our life that aren't going to align to the future. There are relationships and environments and things, right? And so we have Mercury retrograde in Cancer right now, which I talked about. I believe that that is pulling us in to the future. We are getting the intuitive feeling and senses of what we want to birth and create as we move forward. We're also kind of letting go of remnants of the past, storylines, old emotions, old memories that are not aligning with where we're going and maybe have to be let go of in order to move into this, right? Now we have Mars and Uranus conjunct in Gemini today, and they will be conjunct tomorrow and for the next couple of days. And this is really big because the US birth chart actually has Uranus in Gemini. And so we're in our Uranus return. And the last time that Mars and Uranus conjuncted in Gemini was kind of in the later stages of World War II. And I talked about how during that time, this kind of led to a lot of what we would call the information warfare, technology being used to manipulate narratives, propagandas, brainwashings, things to do with communication, right? I mentioned how during World War II, the radio became this big, not like a brand new technology, but it was a technology that started to get utilized in war, right? And the radio was kind of a big thing during that time. This also led to Project Paperclip, MK Ultra, later Project Mockingbird, right? All of this was disclosed in 1975 in the Senate Church Committee hearings. I've talked extensively about that. And so in one of my last videos when I was talking about this, it shocked me that in the last 2 days, I have seen a few things that are so Mars and Uranus in Gemini coded. For one, I'm watching Senate hearings all of a sudden with whistleblowers talking about MK Ultra again. It's like we're right back where we started. Maybe we have to have another disclosure of this so people understand what has actually been going on. The psychological manipulation that has been going on is a huge part of this story, right? So it's fascinating that that's coming up again. I'm also watching in mainstream news, scientists and I don't know what other type of professionals, but talking about directed energy weapons and its effect on the human nervous system and the brain, right? They call it Havana syndrome. I just literally watched 2 mainstream news interviews with these professionals. Again, I'm not sure what industry they're from, but talking about directed energy weapons and how they're being utilized and how they're affecting the human body. And I'm laughing to myself because 10 years ago, that was a conspiracy. But now it's on CBS News. It's very strange to watch a lot of the things that a lot of us have known and talked about for a very long time, all of a sudden becoming mainstream. And I think that this is going to be a huge part of the conversation this month, again, with the first contact energy. Pulling us into the future means we have to make total resolution with the past, and we have to really understand what has happened up until this point so that we don't repeat the past, and so that we also can have, I guess you would say, full clarity, right, in how to move into a future where we move past a lot of this. And that, I think, one of the major things in how we're going to do this is that each individual human has to realize the ways in which we've been conditioned, programmed, literally energy weapon attacked, brainwashed, propagandized. Most of the masses do not understand how they have been under those influences. So the thoughts that they think, their belief systems, their projections, a lot of them are not their own. It's not their real self. And all the division and the conflict that we see amongst humanity is due to this, because at our core nature, we all feel the same things. We all kind of have this internal knowing, right? And that we are one and we're on the same team. And so I just think that this July 4th weekend is going to be really interesting. But again, this energy can be a little volatile as well. So the recommendation is just to kind of not engage too much in arguments, conflicts, etc. Like realizing that, you know, a lot of humanity right now is going through the deconditioning. And the mind is kind of deconstructing right now. And so we have to just stay in the heart and again, stay connected to the future self and what we're moving into. And this is the month of Barbolt's basket being activated. And that is going to peak middle of July, the 19th and 20th. We have Neptune going retrograde in Aries on the 7/7 portal. Again, that's my date where I'm really looking at the first contact channels becoming really active, the consciousness really downloading into us individually. And as I talked about, the end of July is really the big shebang. The day out of time, the nodes are going to be at 0 degrees and 0 seconds of Pisces and Virgo. And then we have the galactic new year, where Saturn, the ruler of linear time, goes retrograde in Aries, suddenly pulling the future into the present. We have the nodes shifting to 29 degrees Aquarius and the south node into 29 degrees Leo. We will be in Leo season. We have Jupiter in Leo, so expect everything to get louder, bolder, but also brighter. I think the light is at the end of the tunnel. I think everything is intense right now. There is this pressure building, right? But it's always darkest before the dawn kind of thing. There's a lot of light too, and there's a lot of great things happening. And then we'll have a full moon in Aquarius at the end of this month, conjunct Pluto. And that I think is such a game changer as far as the timelines and everything. Of course, I did do a little update about CERN being shut off, and that was on June 29th on the full moon in Capricorn, as Mercury was stationing retrograde and Jupiter was sitting at the 29th degree of Cancer. And it's going to be shut off for 4 years. And I did do a deep dive into that, of just like how CERN got started, the years that it was turned off versus the years that it was turned on. And, you know, we'll never fully know exactly like how it's affected our reality and our consciousness and timelines, but we know that everything is connected to everything. And you can't experiment with quantum physics on that type of level and not have an effect on the quantum field. So it will be very interesting to see how things change with it being turned off for the next 4 years. But that's another added layer that I wasn't tuned into at the time. But yeah, this is a big month. And as I said, there's this huge just feeling for me of aligning to the future self and who we're becoming and what we're birthing. And the future we all wish to live in, the future we want to create. What type of world do we want to live in? Who do we want to be? And I think as that becomes very clear and we start really embodying that, we're going to rapidly move into a lot of changes, and a lot of them are scary. Like, remember, deconditioning and letting go of the past and becoming something new and overcoming fear to move into the unknown is a scary process. So there's a lot of emotion to it. There's a lot of sensitivities to it. But it's a big month of change. And so that leads us into August. I talked about the solar flash energy of August, especially between Lionsgate and the new moon solar eclipse in Leo on August 12th. There will be a massive Leo stellium. The path of totality is over the North Pole. So a lot of interesting stuff with poles and the magnetic fields going on. But that leads me to sharing with you guys an event, actually 2 events that I'm going to be co-hosting here in Crestone, Colorado. So the week of Lionsgate. So the first event is an astrology retreat. And so it's going to be hosted here in Crestone by myself and 2 other astrologers, Kyla and Alyssa. And the 3 of us have wanted to do an astrology retreat, and all 3 of us want to focus on more of the feminine energy and the feminine archetypes of astrology, because a lot of that has been lost, especially in the more like modern, it's very kind of just a patriarchal viewpoint on astrology. So we're going to incorporate a lot of different things in terms of teaching at this retreat. So the retreat is for astrologers, astrology students. You don't have to be advanced. You could be a beginner, intermediate, or even an advanced astrologer. But we're going to have like a full packed curriculum during the retreat. So again, we're going to have a lot of different focuses, but it's going to be mainly on a lot of the upcoming transits. I'm going to talk about the incarnation cross change of 2027. We're going to talk about the feminine archetypes in astrology, and we're going to really dive into kind of the more hidden and suppressed wisdom in astrology that isn't often talked about, such as like the goddess asteroids, more of the goddess archetypes, things of that nature. We're going to talk a lot about Chiron and Taurus, because that is a journey that we are beginning right now, and that's going to take us into 2027. So we also have astrologers from around the country who are going to come and join us on this retreat to help with curriculum, with teaching. So you're going to get a lot of different viewpoints, a lot of different styles of teaching, a lot of different pieces to the puzzle. So the retreat is going to be 3 days long, August 5th, August 6th, and August 7th. And we will also have other activities and classes. So we're going to have some outings. We will have an observatory night where we actually physically go out and look at the sky and kind of regain that relationship between astronomy and astrology that has been lost in many ways. But we're going to just remind ourselves that the origins of astrology were just going outside and watching the skies and looking at the stars and, actually physically seeing where the constellations are, and really just getting attuned back with the sky, with the cosmos. So we're going to have an observatory night. We're also going to have a UFO tour night with a local tour guide, because of course Crestone and the San Luis Valley is very known for its galactic energy, galactic sightings. You can call them UFOs, aliens, whatever you want. But galactic energy, right? And there's a lot to see out here. Also, a fun fact is that in Crestone, we are one of the few dark sky communities in the country. And so to be acknowledged or kind of recognized as a dark sky community, you have to have certain guidelines. So we have strict guidelines here about light pollution. So we do not have hardly any light pollution at all. Everybody is not allowed to have, it only has to have certain levels of light, like on their house, street lamps, all that kind of stuff. So we are one of the few dark sky communities in the country. And so it is one of the best places to view the sky and to view the stars. And so on our UFO tour night, we're also going to be able to see what is beyond the naked eye. So we're going to have part of the tour that's going to be led is that we have, or they will provide these like special goggles that you can see beyond the light spectrum. And so there's so much to see. And so we're going to have a really cool night out together doing that. We're also going to have just some fun, like girls' night stuff, like a little bit of a spa and healing night. We're also going to have an arts and crafts night where we paint our charts, and you'll get a reading from all of the hosts of the retreat of your personal birth chart. We're going to do a lot of great stuff. And so it is a 3-day retreat. We only have 10 slots available. We wanted to keep it kind of an intimate retreat. So if you are interested in applying for the retreat and joining us, please, I will give you the website in the description. Our website is darkskyvortex.com, and you will see a tab there for the retreat. And you can see more details about the retreat, the cost, etc. And then, of course, if you would like to apply, you'd like an application, you can email me at darkskyvortex@gmail.com. I'll send you the application, and you'll have a meeting with me, Kyle, and Alyssa. We'll give you more details about it. We also have a big list of accommodations that you can stay in when you come here. We'll give you travel recommendations as far as driving or flying, etc. So that is the first event that I'm going to be co-hosting. So again, if you're interested in that, please reach out to me. We're starting to finalize our retreat group soon and get everything set up for that. And the second event that I'm co-hosting is the Vortex Festival. And that is going to be a 2-day event here in Crestone, Colorado. And the first day is going to be Lionsgate, 8/8. And the second day will be August 9th. So it's a Saturday and a Sunday. And this festival is open to everybody. There is no cost. So if you would like to come to the retreat, you can absolutely stay through the weekend and come to the festival as well. Or even if you're not interested in the retreat, but you want to come to the festival, you can also reach out to me. I can give you accommodations and travel guides and all of that stuff. So it's open to everybody. Again, no cost for that event, but we are going to have vendors, speakers. We're going to have some community events like community yoga and sound bowls, a movement class. We also have a group of astronomers who are graciously going to come out and set up mini planetariums, telescopes. They also have kids telescopes. So if you're traveling with your kids, they can come and check it out as well. They're going to be doing little workshops there of showing us how to view the stars, and they even have sun telescopes that we can use. So we're going to have a lot of cool stuff. So the whole idea behind the Vortex Festival was because, as many of you might know, this area, Crestone, and also more largely the San Luis Valley in Colorado is widely known for its UFO activity, galactic activity, paranormal experiences, and many people refer to this place as a vortex. Kind of similar as you'll hear people speak about a vortex in like Sedona or Mount Shasta, kind of very similar energetics there. And so the history of the valley goes back pretty far. Between 10 and 15,000 years ago, there was a lot of indigenous that resided in this valley. And this is what led to the valley being named the Bloodless Valley. And basically, the natives and the indigenous found this valley to have such powerful energy and to have so much beauty that they agreed to not shed any blood in this valley. So there would be all different tribes of the native and indigenous who would meet here or be gathering here, and it was basically a peace valley. And they agreed to have no wars and no conflicts here because of the sacredness of the land. There's also other kind of myths and legends about the Hopi traveling here. And they would come here again for kind of like spiritual activations and ceremonies. And they would kind of not joke, but say that this area carried such high energy that nobody should live here full time, that it's too much energy. And so that can kind of also explain, I think, the paranormal and kind of mystical energy that resides here. We also have a UFO watchtower that is in the valley. It's about 20 minutes outside of Crestone. And that UFO watchtower is widely known for having some of the most UFO sightings in the country. So that's also very interesting. Part of our vortex also comes from, there is a giant part of the mountain here that is basically just one giant crystal. Many will say that it is quartz crystal. I've also heard that it is cryolite, which is a more rare crystal that only occurs in Greenland, and was mostly used by the Inuit people for spiritual ceremonies. So there's a lot of kind of myths and lore of like things that have gone on here. We also have the Great Sand Dunes, which very interesting place, basically nestled at the bottom of the mountain range here is a massive sand dunes that basically looks like you're right in the Sahara Desert. It looks totally out of place. Again, the history of it claims that tens of millions of years ago that there was a ton of volcanoes in this area, and that basically the sand dunes are the remnants of massive volcanic eruptions, and that the dunes itself, the sand, is over 70% volcanic ash. So very interesting. When you go there, you can kind of feel a very mystical energy. It feels almost paradoxical to have this kind of it would have been catastrophic and cataclysmic volcanic eruptions, to be such a violent eruption to create such an impact, to have sand dunes here for millions of years, right next to a valley known as the Bloodless Valley, right? And the Peace Valley. It's just kind of, again, the paradoxical energy of here. There's also a crater at the north side of the sand dunes known as the Crestone Crater. And this was actually discovered in the early 1900s by a local, and they couldn't figure out where it had come from. And there's been tons of studies done on this crater, and scientists have said first that it looked like it was a meteorite impact. Then they said it was created by wind, which, why is it still there? Then there was another study done that said, well, if it was a meteor impact, it definitely doesn't follow any of the typical meteor impact guidelines. It's kind of an anomaly. And so a lot of other people have come to say, could it have been a craft, right? A UFO craft impact. There's a lot of, again, like myths, lores, and legends around the valley and around Crestone. And so that was our, that was kind of our intention around the Vortex Festival, was to celebrate the uniqueness of this place, the mystical and unique energy that lies here. And so we're going to have speakers of all kinds. We're going to have astrologers talking about the astrology of the valley here and of Crestone, and what makes it super unique, and what transits that are upcoming that are really going to bring a lot of energy to here. We're going to have astronomers as well talking about the dark sky, and talking about how to infuse astronomy and astrology back together, right? We're going to have speakers that talk about Sasquatch hunting, Sasquatch adventures, because there's been lots of Sasquatch finders and sightings also here in the valley. So we're going to have a Sasquatch hunter speaker. We're also going to have a UFO tour guide speaker as well, talk about her experience with UFO sightings and taking people out on UFO tours, right? We're also going to have a historian speak about the history of the valley and give a little bit more insight as to, how this became the valley. And we're also going to have another speaker who's going to talk about plants and herbs as a portal, and what kinds of plants and herbs exist here in the valley that have such a spiritual connection, and how to utilize them for that vortex energy. So we're going to have lots of cool speakers. We're also going to have vendors. So if you are looking to travel here for the festival, you can of course just attend and have a great time. But if you would like to be a vendor If you go to our website, darkskyvortex.com, we also have a tab for vendors. And you can fill out an application there, like let us know what you're intending to sell, where you're coming from, a little bit of background, and you can sign up to vend. So we hope that all the vendors can bring, their unique creations. We love anything handmade, mystical, and it doesn't have to be outside the box. You could totally just have any creation, any business that you want to come and vend. You could even vend your services. You could do readings, whatever you'd like to do. But please do fill out a vendor application if you'd like to come and vend at the festival. Again, we're going to have a kids zone with kids activities. We might have music. We will keep you updated on that. So if you do go to our website, you can subscribe to our mailing list. And I've been doing email updates as we go along, updates on speakers, updates on the vendors, updates on possible music lineups, and event schedules. I will also be sending out helpful information about traveling to the valley, places to stay, places to eat, etc. So subscribe to our mailing list. You can stay updated on all the festival updates there. And yeah, we will also have some community events, as I mentioned, that will be open to everybody. And so it's going to be a really great time. It's going to be under the Lionsgate energy, and so it's powerful. And again, our intention is kind of just to bring people together into the vortex and to just spread some joy, to have some fun, to learn something new, and to maybe all come together in a really unified consciousness and place some positive intentions into the vortex, and see where it takes us. That's going to be such an interesting time period as we lead up to that total solar eclipse in Leo. So I wanted to share that with you guys. So if anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, and hopefully I will see some of you guys at the retreat or at the festival. So happy July, everybody, and I will be back for more updates later this month as we get into August.